Hi, Aries Sun and Rising. Welcome to your December 2024 Astro Update. It's Raina here. Well, December, at least the first 3 weeks, is Sagittarius season, and you being a fire sign, this trines you, Sun and Ascendant. And so that is a very cooperative angle, harmonious, and it makes everything to do with the Sun more conducive to your efforts. I'm talking about the transiting Sun. So, in the first of the month, we have a new moon at 9 degrees of Sagittarius, and this falls in the house of Sagittarius. Since you are the universal template of the astrological chart, you have these new moons in their respective houses. So the new moon in Sagittarius is in that house that Sagittarius rules, the ninth house. And this can be new developments in the form of your spiritual endeavors, as well as any kind of travel plans. This is the holiday season, so that, makes a lot of sense anyway. But this would be long distance travel, not traveling to a neighboring city that's not too far away. Well, that's why it's neighboring. But yeah, long distance. And this can be any kind of studies. If you applied to college, you might get your acceptance letter, something like that. On the 6th, Mars goes retrograde at 6 degrees of Leo. And this Mars retrograde is falling in your 5th house of romance. And so if you had any kind of dalliance with someone, I'm saying dalliance because a Mars transit in the 5th house can be very lusty rather than necessarily true love. Although I'm not saying that it couldn't be, because if it was love, it might have just come on you right away, like all of a sudden you just fell head over heels, because Mars is very kind of like cut to the chase. What are we going to do about this? Let's do this. There's a very, impatient kind of a vibe with Mars. So, Mars retrograde, you might see some kind of an old lover come back. Again, it might have been a one-dimensional thing, so you have to proceed with caution. But also, another thing, too, is that this can be like if you had started something and it was hot and heavy, you may be frustrated with this situation. You might not be able to do anything about it right now. Maybe that person is traveling for the holidays themselves, and they won't be around for a few months. And you feel this sense of impatience. Actually, Mars is turning direct in late February. So yeah, I guess that's a couple of months. So you may be feeling that sense of tension, like, oh, everybody will be actually when Mars goes retrograde, because Mars can rule anger, aggression, and the person is thwarted, all of us. But where it falls in the houses, that it gives more information. So if, this would actually be a great time if you are creatively inclined to kind of like dig out an old project that you it's stalled, because you never know, you can breathe new life into it. The very next day, on the 7th, Neptune turns direct at 27 degrees of Pisces. Also, Venus goes into Aquarius. In terms of the Neptune direct in Pisces, that's your 12th house. And interestingly, Saturn, I'm recording this right before Saturn is going direct in mid-November. And so Saturn is also in Pisces in your 12th. So at this time in December, Saturn will have turned direct and is giving you discipline over 12th house matters, which can include any kind of addiction, any kind of escapism, tendencies, or you could just say in general, self-destructive tendencies. Saturn is making you see the truth of the situation. This is the dark night of the soul. When somebody can't run and hide anymore. This is actually, the 12th house is a place to run and hide. But Saturn's like, nope, no can do. You have got to face this. And so this can also apply when, now that Neptune, because Neptune retrograde can be disillusionment. Now that Neptune is direct, if you had some kind of spiritual practice, you can bring it back. Now, you may have had some disillusionment with a spiritual teacher that didn't live up to your expectations, or some sort of spiritual studies, or maybe you're taking some kind of training and you abandon it and you feel like you failed, but you're hopping back on that horse. I'm not saying that you're necessarily going to go back to that training or that spiritual guru or center that you belong to, but you're not going to throw out the baby with the bathwater, because you just have these two important influences in the 12th that could be very helpful for advancing yourself, and creating growth. But sometimes when we're in the midst of it, it can, be a little bit, there could be delays, and it doesn't mean that all is lost. Okay, and I mentioned Venus in Aquarius, so that's in your 11th house. Venus in the 11th is very good for money, because the 11th house is a house of gains. So it could be that you see a greater profit beginning mid-month in your business or in your career or what you do for a living. And of course, this is like at the heart of the holiday season. So if you are involved in any kind of profession or job where, or you own a business where the holidays figure into it, then for sure that would make a lot of sense. Venus is the house of friendships and groups, so you may make some new friends, or, well, I cross that out. Actually, it would be more like socializing with the ones that you have. On the 15th, full moon, 23 degrees of Gemini in your 3rd house, and Mercury goes direct at 6 degrees of Sag. This is really wild to me, because these two signs are opposite signs, and the full moon is opposing the sun, as it always does. So it is aspecting Sagittarius, and it's in Gemini, which is ruled by Mercury, and then Mercury goes direct on that same day, and it's in Sagittarius. It's like mutual reception. I don't know if that's the official definition of it, but to me it seems like it would be. So anyway, I think this is very important too, because it's interesting that Mercury is retrograding in that 9th house, because you had a new moon there that was in conjunction with the Mercury. Well, I don't know for sure that it was in conjunction with it then. Mercury moves very quickly, but it is in conjunction with that new moon degree of 9 degrees. This is at 6 degrees. So it may have some connection with that new moon, let's put it that way. So with the full moon in the 3rd house, this is a house of news, breaking news, developments, what's happening. It's also the house of teaching and learning. So if you had been doing any of that, maybe you've been doing some tutoring, and that is coming to an end, because perhaps you were doing it for some school project, or like if you're a student teacher or something like that. I don't know. But anyway, this is also the house of siblings, and they say aunts, uncles, cousins, like extended family members. And I have to say that being the holiday season, even though it's not yet Christmas, I know everybody doesn't celebrate Christmas and is a Christian or anything like that, but you may get together around that date. that's a possibility. But whatever, if you are seeing family more during this time, this month altogether, there could be in some cases, there's going to be some people that have conflict. The full moon is not necessarily conflict, but it could be drama. And it could make you see that person in a new light. Even if you never say a single cross word to that person or they to you, you may just observe them and think, wow, I never noticed that before. It could be that you sever ties with that person if you feel like enough is enough. Or you hear news about them. It actually, the full moon can be a spiritual download, and this can involve like an ingenious idea. Remember that Jupiter is in your third house in Gemini. So Jupiter, even though Jupiter is retrograding, it's such a positive influence that it can still bring you blessings. And maybe they're a bit trimmed down for the time being, but they can still be there. And it could have something to do, maybe you come up with a great idea for a business, or you come up with a great idea, like if you already have a business, for a new product, a new service, or it could be a spiritual download. And Mercury going direct in Sagittarius, Sag is the sage, and it's in your ninth house. So maybe you've been kind of rethinking something about what you've been doing. I definitely think there might be something spiritually based with this because of the 12th house transit. But regardless, if you are traveling, you may have had, because I wasn't, when I was talking about that new moon, I was not really focused on the fact that Mercury is retrograde here. So Mercury goes direct mid-month, and actually, well, I heard it said that you can travel during a Mercury retrograde. Of course, you can do anything during retrogrades. Only you decide what you're going to do or don't do. But I'm saying, like, whether astrologers advise it. But the only thing is, you have to be open for any kind of snafus. If you're somebody that's like, oh no, I have to go here and I have to go there, then it might be something that is less a given. But I'm just going to tell you from my end of things, like they say, technology, or like buying a cell phone. I do think that I have had a situation where something happened to my phone. Maybe it got lost or something, but that was after the retrograde was over. But I would not hesitate to do anything like that during a Mercury retrograde if I needed something, or if you have an opportunity to travel. I think that it would be more foolish to try to avoid doing something when you have an opportunity to do it than to do it. But only you can make that final determination. I just don't want to be the one who's perpetuating these kinds of things. It's always feels good when Mercury goes direct. And if you have been having trouble with like paperwork or a passport or anything, you could find that this is smoothed out during the second half of December. And then on the 21st, we have a power day, the winter solstice, summer in the southern hemisphere, and this is when the sun goes into a cardinal sign, in this case Capricorn, which is your 10th house of career. But this is where it gets really interesting, is on the 30th for most of the world. I think only those people on the West Coast will have it on the 29th, but very late at night on the 29th. We have a black moon, which is the second new moon in a month. So the first one was in Sag, and it was on the 1st, and now we have one on the 30th at 9 degrees of Capricorn. It's also called the Lilith moon. And it can be especially good for manifestation. Well, it's in your career sector, Aries, so that's really great. So keep that in mind for any kind of, the new moons are times to set intentions. So you can set an intention for what you wish to manifest career-wise. And maybe it will have more potency because it is a black moon. So there you have it, Aries. That's what I have for you. I hope that this resonated. If you would like a private reading, I am promoting my double readings or my package deals. I actually have a triple reading called the Whole Enchilada, which is the deep dive reading plus a full-length tarot reading. The deep dive reading is an hour of natal chart analysis and an hour of transits for a special price. You can find out more information about all my readings at the link below. Thanks for listening. Bye.